So we are at the last stop on our Hasidic pilgrimage in Nyírtass, which in Yiddish is Tosh in Hungary. And I'm here at the grave of Rebbe Elimelech of Tosh, who was the second Tosher Rebbe. Here in Tosh, in the time of Rebbe Elimelech, Purim was almost as big as Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. On Purim, the singing was so joyous and the dancing was so spirited and the drinking was so excessive, as it should be on Purim. It was a time of intensity and joy. And everyone said that Rebbe Elimelech would especially work miracles on Purim. Once, and this would have been probably during the years before the First World War, a man from a nearby town named Reb Gershon Korloser came to Rebbe Elimelech on Purim, very worried because three of his good friends, and I just call them Yosef, Moshe, and Shloime, had been drafted into the army. Reb Gershon didn't need to explain to Rebbe Elimelech that Hasidim did not want to go into the imperial army. They were peaceful people. They wanted to serve God, not the emperor. And they were afraid of what dangers there were in being a soldier, physical danger and terrible spiritual danger. Serving in the army for a couple of years could ruin a person spiritually. Rebbe Elimelech said, "No, Gershon, they'll have to report to army headquarters and there they'll be assessed whether they're fit for service or not." Reb Gershon said, "Yes, Rebbe." Rebbe Elimelech said, "You report in their place to the headquarters. And when I say the headquarters, I mean me at the Purim feast." Reb Gershon was possibly puzzled, but he realized Purim is a time for play acting. So he thought he would get into it and act out this play. He waited until the Purim feast was in full swing. Rebbe Elimelech was at a big table surrounded by followers and visitors, drinking and singing. And Reb Gershon went up to the table and saluted to the Rebbe. And he said, "Sir, here to report for duty, sir." The Rebbe yelled at him like an army officer, "What's your name?" Reb Gershon said, "Yosef," the first of his three friends. The Hasidim and visitors around the table were looking at them, puzzled. But then they said to themselves, this is a Purim play of some kind, and they relaxed into enjoying it. The Rebbe, yelling again, said, "Yosef, let me see you march." And Reb Gershon began to walk around the table, but limping. He was limping and staggering around. And the Rebbe yelled, "We can't have limping soldiers in the emperor's army, unfit for service. Next." So Reb Gershon turned around and went back to the table with one eye closed. And he saluted, "Sir, reporting for duty, sir." The Rebbe said, "Name?" He said, "Moshe." The Rebbe said, "Moshe, you're half blind. We can't have you in the army, unfit for service. Next." Gershon turned around and went back to the table, hunched over. He looked up and said, "Sir, reporting for duty, sir." The Rebbe looked down at him and said, "We can't have a hunchback in the army, unfit for service. Go!" And Reb Gershon straightened up, and he sat down at the table and joined in the Purim feast, drinking and singing and trusting that everything would be all right. And in fact, it wasn't long before he heard that his 3 friends had been declared unfit for service to the emperor and free to the service of God.